good morning, everyone, or good day in Bangladesh. It's 9 a.m. here in Finland, and I think it's 2 p.m. in Bangladesh. So it's we are on the other side of the globe, which is pretty great, I think. So my name is Karoliina Kettukari, and for the next maybe 45 minutes, I'll try to go a little bit less than Vesku. So we will be talking about how to get your management board to Teams. And if you have any questions or comments during this presentation, please write all of your ideas to the chat so I can try and pick those up during my presentation, or then I can answer all the questions after the presentation. So just a couple of things about myself, of course. So I'm from Finland, as also is Vesku. It's pretty snowy, actually, here in Finland at the moment. We have lots of snow, and it's been pretty cold. Also, it's been like minus 15 degrees of Celsius. But I like the winter time, so it's okay. I'm the modern work lead at a Finnish company called Metallic. And basically, everything I do revolves around Microsoft Teams. And especially how to get your employees excited about Teams, how to improve your internal communications and teamwork with the help of Teams and other Microsoft 365 applications. I also love to speak at conferences, so I also co-host 2 user groups. One of them is the Teams Community Finland, which is also Vesku is another of the organizers. And then I also host the Adoption and Change Management user group in Europe. I'm a Microsoft MVP in Office Apps and Services, and I really like to be active in social media. So in LinkedIn, you can go and add me as a contact in there. And I'm also active in Twitter. You can find me there with my last name, Kettukari. But we have lots of exciting content today, so let's get started. And my session is all about how to excite your managers into using Teams. And I think, first of all, it's a good idea to talk a little bit about what I mean by managers. Because I know, for example, Finland, we have a little bit different organizational culture than many other countries in the world. And here in Finland, we are pretty free. We are very low in hierarchy. Our titles don't matter that much. So in Finland, when we talk about managers, we usually talk about the top management, so the CEO, C-level of the company. But I think the ideas and things in this presentation are suitable for any management level or also supervisor level. So basically, everyone who are in one way or another high in the hierarchy, so they may be team leaders, supervisors, or they may of course be the C-level people. And usually what's common with all of them is that they are responsible for some kind of strategic choices and actions in the company. So for example, what is our teams or units or departments goals for this year or for the next year? And what actions should we take when we are going to reach those goals? And also usually managers do delegation more than instead of just like doing executive things in the company. So the job is maybe a bit different. And how does the top management work differ from other knowledge workers in the company? So usually, I think they, as I said, they like to delegate more things to other people. And with delegation comes the responsibility of good communication. So for team management, it's even more important to have all of those communication tools and devices at hand, because they need to communicate very clearly to their team or to their unit that what's need to be done. Usually, the communication method at the moment is, of course, email in many organizations still. Of course, Teams is in Finland. Teams is very widely used, also in the top management. But I think in many other countries, the top management still relies on email or even, for example, telephone calls. Also, networking is another crucial topic for the management group. And also, when we think about networking, especially in these times when we are mostly remote, it's super important that we have all of those tools and devices and teams we can use, because we are not able to travel from office to another or travel from customer to another and see each other live. And one thing, I think it's one of the key points also in this presentation, is that when you get enough high level in your organization, you tend to get secretaries or assistants. So maybe not every team leader has an assistant, but usually when we go to top management or to management board, they have one or several secretaries. And as you will see later on in this presentation, secretaries and assistants are a super important group when we are talking about how to get your management board to Teams. So that's why you should never forget about your secretaries. And as we all may know, we have experienced the last year in the world. Change is a constant thing in organizations, in companies. And I think the one difference between management and other knowledge workers is that the management also should manage change. And one thing they can manage change is with communication, is with delegation, is with making sure that things happen as they should. And then we always come back that we need the right tools, we need the right devices, and we need the top management to be able to use those tools in an efficient way. But when I made this list, I actually started thinking about that does it differ actually that much in the end? So of course, other knowledge workers, they also need to have all of those communication tools. They need to delegate tasks. They need to, for example, network inside their company to talk with other departments or with other projects in the company. So I think that one key point in here is the secretaries. So that's the one thing usually top management has, but none other knowledge worker has. So maybe that's the one thing that differs top management from knowledge workers. But I still think that you could utilize these tips and tricks for everyone in your company. But there are, I've noticed in my projects that there are a few things that makes the working with top management quite different than working with other teams or other employees. And I have a couple of more slides to you about those differences. And then we get to the best part, which of course is demos, because live demos are the best, especially if they work. So I hope everything will work today. Okay, so one difference is how you can reach the top management. And well, I should say it depends. And I know it depends is one thing that every SharePoint consultant or every Teams consultant say to their clients every time they ask a question, because there are lots of different answers in this. And I think this is also a topic that is very different from, for example, in Finland to if we are talking about Germany or if we are talking about other parts of the world. Because in Finland, we are a bit of an easy country in that sense that basically I can just send an email or send a message in Teams to some manager or even the CEO and just ask that, hey, can we get a meeting? And most likely they will answer to me. And pretty likely I will also get the meeting. But asking directly is no question for example, in Germany. So if you are in Germany or some other country that has a lot of more hierarchy in the organization, you have to really find the right persons to reach. And for example, those can be secretaries, those can be some lower level management, and then you can climb step by step like stairs until you finally reach the top management. So I would say in this case, you really need to know your organizational culture, your country culture, and you have to know that what's the best thing, how you can contact the managers you need to have meeting with or a workshop with. It can be through the secretaries, or it can be, at some cases, through direct contact, but usually networking inside the organization and finding a person who knows someone who knows someone who knows the manager is usually the best way to go. It's not easy, and it takes time, really. But one key tip in here is that don't give up, because eventually you will get there. And then another thing when it comes to top managers and maybe the differences between all the other employees and top managers is that management are super busy people. Of course, usually all the employees nowadays are busy, but especially when you're talking about management team, they have very little free time in their daily routine or in their daily calendars. So finding out what's in it for me is a key factor in how to get your management board excited. And when I've talked about this with my customers, I think the answers to this question vary a huge amount. So I've actually had workshops that I've been super well prepared, and then I've read all the company strategies and all the company presentations, and then I've gone and talked with the management team about how are you going to utilize Teams in your strategic goals. And then the management team sees that I have been sending GIFs in my Teams chat. And that's the one thing they remember from the whole workshop. So sometimes it may be just those super simple, super small things, just as emojis, GIFs you can utilize in Teams. And that's the thing that gets the management board excited. Because we are all used to utilize, for example, WhatsApp or Facebook, Instagram in our normal lives, TikTok maybe. And we can utilize videos in there. We can send voice messages. We can use emojis in there. So why not also take those things you have in your personal life and utilize those in your work life if they are applicable? So of course, if your company culture is very strict or very professional, this might not be the first thing you want to show to the top management. And actually, if you knew, you can also disable, for example, all the GIFs in Teams if you just want to have the normal conversation. The other thing for top management is that they usually are doing very mobile work. So they are going from customer to another or from companies to another. Yes, at the moment, maybe not that much, but usually they are traveling a lot. And one thing that's very usual has been that in the previous years, you haven't been able to work when you are traveling because you have been not able to reach your presentations, richer materials when you have been, for example, in aeroplane or traveling. But with Teams, it's super easy to have Teams in your mobile phone, have Teams in your tablet, and to read all of your documents only for conversations wherever you are. And that may be a super important thing for top management to consider. But of course, in the end, we want to utilize Teams and other Microsoft 365 tools to reaching the strategic goals in our company. So developing business processes, making our company more efficient, making our employees more productive is the ultimate goal. But sometimes we have to start from the easier part. That may be, for example, the emojis in Teams. Okay, so now we have excited the managers, find out how they are excited about Teams, and then it's all about how to train the managers. And as I said, usually managers are super busy people, and these are a couple of tips I've noticed in my projects that works the best with the top management. So first of all, having one-on-one discussions, because usually management level is managers are in very different levels in their IT skills. So some of them may be very new with Teams, very new with, for example, having meetings in Teams. And the other managers may be already building Power Apps or Power Virtual Agents in Teams, so very advanced level. So if you have all of them in the same room or in the same training virtually together, there might be that maybe the people or managers who are on the basic level, they don't want to open their mouth and ask questions because they will show that they are not that advanced. So having the one-on-one discussions, those can be very short. You can have just like 15 minutes of conversation with the manager, or maybe half an hour conversation. Then they can ask anything without the fear of being stupid. And that's why the one-on-one thing works very well with the managers. And then if you want to have team sessions, make it pretty short. And if you have the whole management team in one training or in one workshop, the goal of the workshop should be how are we going to use Teams together? So for example, what kind of meeting processes do we need? How are we going to utilize our Teams, our channels, our chat, etc. So one-on-one on the technical details, and then team sessions together about how are we going to use things. So about Teams playbook or Teams rulebook. And it's the best if you can find those real life use cases. So if you have some kind of initiative in your company, we have this goal we want to reach by the end of the year. Then you can start thinking together, how can we utilize Teams and all the functionalities in Teams to reach the goal? For example, approval flows or Power Apps or other things in Teams. And I see that Andy put a great comment in our chat section with the assistants and secretaries. So yes, that's an excellent point, because usually if I think about how much the manager actually is using Teams or is using, for example, email, it may in reality be that the secretary or the assistant is the one who is actually sending all the meeting invites, sending all the emails in behalf of the manager, or even using Teams on behalf of the manager. So don't forget the secretaries, train them at least as well as the managers. So they are really your best allies. Cool. So that is our theory section of today. Now we get to the cool and fun section of today, which is management board demo team. So in my projects with management board, I have done created a demo team for you, which is based on real life use cases and real life customer teams I've had in my projects. And I have my second screen right here. So now I'm going to look at it. So I'm not going to look at the camera at the moment. Cool. So now you are seeing my team in here. And basically, this is a very normal management board team. We have other things I have in here is, of course, my internet team. Actually, having your internet in Teams is one of my favorite topics in the world. It's a topic that's most suitable for small companies. So maybe companies maybe under 1,000 employees. But the point in here is to be open, is to be transparent, and is to be informative. So bring as much as information openly available to anyone in your company. But of course, not every information is public. And then that's why we need to own private team for our management and leadership group. And in this team, I have 2 channels at the moment. I also have a test channel, but we will be needing that one in here. We have a general channel for all the other normal discussion in our team. And then we also have a Stockholm office channel for our Stockholm management board team. As you can see, I also have Stockholm office channel here in our whole company internet team, and we will get back to that a little bit later. So here in the post section, in the discussion section, we have all the normal discussion our management board wants to talk about. And this is the discussion that's usually or previously done with email. And you can think about, for example, if your management board is 5 people or 10 people, and you are planning, for example, this kind of strategy workshop. So how many emails you will get per day or per week, just around this one topic. How much easier is to have the whole conversation inside your team, inside your one channel, and plan the whole workshop in a coherent way in your team's discussions. So for example, here, Knut is talking about our strategy workshop. And one thing we have utilized in here is the, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong channel, is the list thing in Teams. So lists came in Teams a couple of months ago, so a pretty new thing. They were announced at Ignite last year. And here we actually have our strategy conference timetable and schedule. So this is actually a ready-made list. I have just filled up the, for example, session names, code, speakers. We have myself, Roald, and Solomon, which by the way all are like North Pole explorers in real life. And instead of having this kind of planning in email, we can have the planning in Teams. And instead of having this, for example, conference schedule in Excel, we can have it here in lists. And of course, if you are familiar with SharePoint lists, this is basically nothing new. I know it's prettier, it's more visual. You have all of these cool different colors in here. It's pretty, I think. And it's super easy to edit. And for example, in this case, we have planned our session here in our management board team, which is private team. And when we have finalized our agenda, we want to publish it for every employee in our company to be able to see. And then we are going to our intranet team, which is public for everyone. And then they can go to the strategic conference tab in our team and see the conference schedule. And of course, this can be any kind of event you have in your company. For example, it can be some kind of quarterly review event. It can be some kind of a onboarding plan for your new employees. Anything you want to, for example, first plan with your management team and then will publish for the whole company. So if you haven't checked out the lists in Teams, you can find those in the plus sign, so add a tab, add lists, and then just start exploring. Super simple, super easy thing to do. Other things we have here in our management board channel, of course, we can talk about recruiting new sled riders, for example, in here. But I think one of the most important things when we are talking about management team is the management meeting process. So usually normal team meetings or unit meetings are maybe not that formal, not that official, but when we are having management board meetings, we usually want to gather a formal agenda. We have some things we need to do, or even maybe we are required to do by the law. And that's why usually board meetings still, even if we are in Teams, we can write the memos in Word documents, store those in our archives, etc. At some cases, you should think about, are you able to, for example, utilize OneNote for your board meeting memos, or for some management board or leadership team memos? Because OneNote is way more efficient and easier way to gather all of your meeting notes in one place instead of having those separate Word documents. But I understand that in some cases, we really need to have those separate PDFs stored for some amount of years, just in case. But one thing is that how are you going to gather the agenda for your board meetings? And there has been many different processes in the companies I've been working with. One very common thing is that the secretary will send an email to all of the management board members, and then everyone will answer to the email. I want to discuss about this topic. I want to discuss about this topic. And then the secretary will gather the agenda, send it to everyone, and then it's finalized. And the thing is, if you're having meetings, for example, once a month, and your topic doesn't fit in the agenda, then you have to wait 1 or 2 months when you get your second chance. And with Teams, you can, of course, discuss about your topic in any day or anywhere between your meetings. Instead of using email for gathering the board agenda, you can utilize also forms. So here we have this basic form I have embedded as a tab in our management board team. And here we have this ongoing questionnaire that if I want to discuss about some topic in our board meeting, I will fill out this form. So this is topic I want to discuss about. And if I want to inform some other people, some other departments who maybe should come to the meeting or should be informed about the topic, I can add those in here. And I think this is quite an interesting use case, because usually when people have a topic they want to discuss about, it's always super important. And by asking that, is your topic really, really important? And how urgent is your topic? People really have to think about, is my topic so important, so urgent, we really need to discuss about this in the next board meeting? Or maybe it's important to me, but it's actually not urgent, so we can take it later on. And this is something we have used with some of my clients, and it has worked pretty well. It gives the responsibility to the management board members to think about, if my topic is the most important one, we really should focus on in the next board meeting. And then you can submit your topics, and the secretaries, which is super important, will gather all of those and create weekly agendas. Other thing you can utilize with your management board team is channel meetings. So nowadays, when we are having Teams meetings, or all of our meetings are Teams meetings, we are used to sending meeting invitations from Outlook, or used to sending meeting invitations from Teams. But if you have a recurrent meeting, for example, once a week, once a month, you can actually create a channel meeting. And when you go, for example, to your management board team, your general channel, here is this meet button, and then you can schedule a meeting. And this button actually takes you to the calendar in your Teams. And the one thing you can notice in here is that it will add the management and leadership general channel in your attendees. So basically, now it creates a channel meeting. And the thing in here is that it doesn't automatically send a separate invitation to people. You will have to add those as attendees. Let's see if Roald is in our team. Is Solomon in our team? Yes. This is, for example, the management board weekly. And let's say it's on from every Friday, which Wednesday? Every Wednesday from 10 to 10:30. And it repeats weekly, so every Wednesday. I don't need to add a location because it's already a Teams meeting. And when I click send and go back to my meeting channel in here, you will see that now we have our meeting inside our channel. And when we are talking about management team, so usually, as we have all agreed, they are busy people. So it might be that they are not able to attend to every meeting every time. So if you utilize channel meetings, all the conversation you have written in your meeting will stay in the channel. It doesn't disappear in the chat when you have done your meeting. So it's in the channel. And of course, if you share some files, record a meeting, all of those things will stay in the context of your channel. So channel meetings, I think they are a bit underrated at the moment. They have some issues. For example, you don't automatically get the invitation to your Outlook. But as when we are talking about how to stay in topic and how to stay in context, you should really think about having channel meetings for your management board team, dailies, weeklies, or basically for any recurrent meeting in your organization that's focused or aimed for a certain team, for certain people. Cool. And other thing we have in here is another list. So we had the conference planning lists, but I actually like these lists in Teams that much that I created another list. And here we have this goal tracker, which is also a ready-made list from lists template. So Microsoft has this template you can utilize if you want to. And here, for example, we have some goals we need to think about in our company. We have some categories. You can also see these super cool icons in here. It makes the list much more visual. You can see if you are in progress, completed with our goal, or lagging behind in our goal. And of course, the priority, if our topic or goal in here is super important or not. And yes, you could do basically the same thing with Planner. In Planner, you can track the progress, you can track the priority, you can have different categories. But if you have some kind of a small project or things you want to follow up on, I think you could think about, is this better as when we do it in Planner, or should we actually think about utilizing these lists in this case? Planner has its upsides, also lists has upsides, so there's no one single answer which one is better. It depends on the use case. But think about this, if you have planners in your team or in your company, you can also think if some of those would work better as lists. Cool. So I have basically one more cool thing to show to you. And actually, in Vesku's session, Vesku talked a lot about approvals. And you maybe already saw some example approvals Vesku had for you, but then I will show you one use case more. So now we are in our all company team, so our internet team. And here in our Stockholm office channel, we have requests for after work. And we had this same demo, or we will have the same demo in Scottish Summit in the next Saturday. And the point in here is that we want to request funding for our events in our team or in our company. So I'm a team leader or I'm just a normal employee. And for example, I want to celebrate something, or I want to have a spring welcoming fest. And I can go and request funding for my project. And here, of course, I'm an admin. I see every request in here. I see their status. But of course, if you would do this in real life, you should also think about the visibility, because I don't think that every company, every employee in your company should really see all this information. So basically, here in your all company team, you could just have a form, fill this information out, and then you will get your request approved or rejected. Here, we can just click on the new item, and here you will see the form. This is just a basic form, so we have not done non-visual changes in here. If you want to, you maybe can make it prettier, but when you are starting to test all of these things to prove different applications and themes, I think it's the most easiest way to start with the out-of-the-box features. And then you can think about the visualization a little bit later. But here, for example, I could request what do you want to do? I want to have the spring welcoming fest. And maybe it could be in April the 1st, and we have a budget of 3,000. It can be euros or dollars or any 3,000 flowers maybe. And I will save, and basically it just saves my request here in the list. And as you can see, it's waiting. And now I don't personally have the approval flow to show you in here because it's actually in another user. But here in our management and leadership team, I can go to the Stockholm office channel, and I can see all the approved or needed to approve afterwards in here. So all the requests will come into chat of our admins, and then you can go to the Stockholm office channel in your management board team and see if some of those have been approved. And I know that every management team has lots of different approval flows. For example, it can be about holidays, it can be about being sick, it can be about okay, nowadays when we are working remote, but for example, a couple of years ago, it could be a request for working remotely from working from home. So instead of having the process of filling out a Word document in your intranet and then sending the Word document by email to your manager, and then the manager will approve or reject, maybe send it to the secretary, who will then answer to the employee. You can cut all of those manual things in your process and just utilize the ready-made approvals app in Teams. So super simple thing as well, super easy thing to try out and test. And I think it's also very concrete because approvals are something everyone in the company uses. Cool. We are getting soon to the end of our presentation here. Just one last thing about the management board team is that when you are having your team in Teams, you still have other communication methods. You can utilize the chat. You can chat with your management board members. You can maybe have WhatsApp group. You can have Signal, Telegram groups. You can have even like Facebook group. Why not? So the important thing in here is to have those short meetings or short trainings with the whole management board and agree which channel or which device are you going to use. Because if we are having all of our discussions, all of our conversations in one place, and by one place I really mean this team and the channels in here, then the work is very visible, it's very transparent, it's very easy. But if we are using chat and WhatsApp and Teams and SharePoint and whatever, all of those different tools together, then we can't be sure where our conversation or where our information lies. So one thing you should agree with every team you have, not just the management team, but every team in your organization, is to where will you have your documents, where you have your conversations. And the easiest thing is to have those in one place. And the logic place, of course, is the channels in your team, because they are visible to everyone, every person in the team. Cool. So let's get back to the presentation. And here is a short summary. So for the past 44 minutes, if we are exact, you've heard some tips and tricks about how to get your management board excited about Teams. And the first thing or first thing to think about is to finding out what's in it for me. Is it the strategic use cases in Teams, how to develop the business processes with Teams, or is it mobile work? You can use Teams with your tablet, iPads, or is it just the super simple things? You can utilize emojis. You can chat with your team members any time of the day. When we are thinking about training, you should train in 3 phases, which were the one-on-one discussions. So one-on-one discussions about what button to push in Teams and when. Give them space to ask all the questions, also to ask all the stupid questions. I know there are no stupid questions at all, but especially management, sometimes they will think that they don't want to appear stupid. So they don't want to ask questions if they are in a bigger group. And then have the short team meetings to agree on the rulebooks, guidelines of how we are going to use Teams together. And then don't forget the secretaries. So the assistants are your best allies, and train them to use all of these different tools efficiently, because they are, or usually can be, the key to how to get your management board to Teams. Awesome. I think we are pretty much right on time. So I will say thank you for listening to my session today. Thank you for Vesko for presenting me and Chris for inviting me in here.